Good evening, everybody. This your boy B Mahari here, representing MehariNation Sports Podcast. Salute to the entire LDBC. Salute to the greater basketball and boxing community here on a Tuesday evening. Bit of the grind week here, you know what I mean? But I wanted to come on here on this live stream today to really give my 2 cents on the whole Colin Kaepernick, Stephen A. Smith situation that's been going on for the past couple of days. Now, as most of you guys already know by now, or if you don't, Colin Kaepernick held a workout with several NFL teams um, to really showcase about his skill set and his physical condition. You know, despite the fact that he's been out of football for the last 3 years. Then there was a little bit of a legal issue between Kaepernick's teams and the NFL over the waiver issue, and then it turned into a complete ugly mess. You know what I mean? Um, then Stephen A. Smith posted a video on his social media account. I think it was Twitter, and basically accused Colin Kaepernick of not wanting to come back to football. I'm just paraphrasing. You know what I mean? I mean, most of you guys should already watched the video by now, but I mean, it got heated. And this morning, he was rambling various different points and showed a waiver that Kaepernick claimed he signed in 2014 that had absolutely nothing to do with what's going on now. And what really has been enlightening to me about the whole situation is everybody is getting exposed of what their true colors are and what their personal agendas are in society. You know what I mean? And this is not the first time Stephen A. Smith has had, said a lot of, foolish things and, has basically been, ripping the black athlete for all the years throughout his time. You know what I mean? And it's very disappointing of how he would try to do that, knowing the sacrifices Colin Kaepernick made, to stand up for, racial injustices at the hands of police. But what really is disappointing to me of what Stephen A. Smith completely missed the point was that Colin Kaepernick was going to have this workout and it had to moved. And then the NFL wanted to sign him a waiver form that basically, was going to force him to give away all of his rights as a registered NFL player. And that right then and there is where things went really, really south. Now, as all you guys know, both Colin and the NFL have not been on good terms over the last couple of years, and things really got to a head when the NFL made the decision to settle with Colin Kaepernick back in February. Okay, and what really irks me about what Stephen A. Smith was basically saying was that, all these things he keeps rambling different points and things of that sort, and tries to make himself look like the good guy in the situation, which clearly he's not. And he's basically nothing more than a company man. That's all that he is to it. He doesn't really have anything sincere to say to people a lot of times. He always rambles around, talking different types of garbage that really has nothing to do with the subject. And, when it comes to issue with the black community, we know what his true colors are. He'll throw his black card at every single argument that he takes. Without even really having an opportunity to state a clean, effective argument. And, when I watched First Take this morning, I'm sorry, I was at work at the time, but when I watched the clips that on First Take that happened this morning, Stephen A. Smith was taking a lot of heat, took a lot of deserved heat for the things that he said about Colin Kaepernick, and he tried to defend what he said previously. And the funny thing was that during the show, Terrell Owens came, texted Stephen A. Smith, and basically G-checked him. And then Stephen A. Smith said again, just go ahead, go to commercial. Because Stephen A. Smith knew that there was no way that he was going to get himself out of this. And then he tried to point out, an unrelevant argument that really had nothing to do with what's going on. The bottom line is this, okay? The bottom line is this: Colin Kaepernick wanted to show what he was capable of doing as a quarterback. There's no dismissing that. But what the NFL tried to do was try to cover their ass by basically making him sign a waiver form that waived all of his guaranteed rights. And that right there and there is where things got really, really blurred. And we all know that the NFL and Colin Kaepernick have not been on the best of terms, over the past couple of years. Okay. But more importantly to that, it's the perception that the NFL keeps putting out there that really rakes my nerves of how they do their sales business. Listen, they didn't hire JC for nothing. They hired him for a specific reason. Okay, they brought in and listen. There's the reason why Malcolm Jenkins went behind the NFL players' back and did a backhanded deal with the owners. Okay, and truthfully though, man, that one reporter that did talked about what he saw when he was at that workout with Kaepernick. Okay, the bottom line is this: he made a really good point. The NFL is trying to endorse people who are willing to sell themselves to the brand than to do what's essentially right. Okay, and this is where Stephen A. Smith's argument gets shut down completely. Okay, and this is not the first time that he's kind of gone on this rant, turning a blind eye on the black community. Listen, I don't care how many years you worked in the journalism industry. Okay, congratulations, you worked 25 years at various, forums and networks. Congratulations, but it doesn't matter what you know about the black community. There's a good old saying: you never ever forget where you came from. And it's clear to me he forgot where he came from. Because the way that he talks, he talks more like a company man than a sincere person. And I'll be honest with you guys. There was when I was studying at the University of Minnesota, I actually admired Stephen A. Smith's work. I admired what his ability to, cover, different types of sports and things of that sort. And I was actually one of those people that, that defended everything Stephen A. Smith said. Okay. But it wasn't until the Colin Kaepernick situation and when I started really studying journalism even further that I really wanted to see where people's biases are. And when the Colin Kaepernick situation came to a head, he showed his true colors. And from that point forward, I was through with him. Okay? I stopped watching First Take altogether. I stopped watching debate shows because I learned from that day forward, analysts have various biases. And they could be really, really cruel and disrespectful when it comes to their biases. And unfortunately, Stephen A. Smith's biases is the fact that he will do whatever he can to rip at the black community, but not rip to the other side. And that is completely ridiculous. And another point that I also wanted to talk about there too, and this is going to be a direct message to the NFL. The NFL allows rapists, sexual predators, and also people who have done domestic violence outside of football on an everyday basis. And you allow these people to come back to the NFL. And why is it that Colin Kaepernick is still out of this? All right? Let's think about this for a moment. Ben Roethlisberger, who is the biggest scumbag on the face of this earth, was basically charged with rape, okay, 3 different times and never got charged, okay? How about Richie Incognito, the bullying incidents, basically the rage attacks, okay? This guy is a psycho, all right? He's an out-of-control maniac, and somehow, some way, he still can find work in the NFL. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Let me. If you want to really go back into history, how about Michael Irvin? Okay, we all know that Michael Irvin tried to slash one of his teammates. In fact, he slashed one of his teammates in the neck just because he called seniority because he wanted to get his hair cut. And y'all know. And listen, and also Michael Irvin was also charged with drug issues back in the day, and he was basically welcomed back in open arms in the NFL. So miss me with the whole notion that the NFL plays it fair, because they clearly don't. They never have, and they never will. You get what I'm saying? And when you really look at the whole situation from its entirety, what Colin Kaepernick did is phenomenal. It's something that many athletes may not do a lot. Okay, he did something that he risked his entire career, his entire football life, to bring up an issue that people do not want to talk about. And remember, this is not the first time that that athletes of different sports have done this. Okay, so let me go ahead and check out the chat real quick before we continue to that. Shank, what's going on, brother? How you doing? JC, how you doing though, man? Iceberg Nerd, salute, my man. JC said, I was never a fan of Smith, man. Never, absolutely. Supreme Boxing Talk says, salute, my brother. JC says, right, I don't watch none of these shows anymore. And JC says, we know what time it is, homie. Absolutely agree. It's just boxing. What's going on there, brother? And Supreme Boxing Talk, what's going on, man? How you doing? Hey, guys, y'all make sure to subscribe to Supreme Boxing Talk on YouTube. They put up great videos and very impressive discussions, though. Go ahead and check that out. He said, the Supreme Boxing Talk says, the game always changes when you stand up for something. Absolutely. Absolutely. We're gonna get into that, because Supreme Beast Boxing Talk made an excellent point about this. Okay. Listen, I got into Facebook wars with various people who will tell me that, oh, JJ Rod, donates to the community. He does all these charitable things. You know what? That's great. More power to you. But here's the thing. Athletes do these kind of things all the time. And most times it's for PR reasons, okay? Colin Kaepernick did something that not many athletes are willing to do, okay? And more importantly to that, he risked his entire livelihood and got rewarded as a result, okay? Now, do you guys remember the name of Craig Hodges and Mahmoud Abdul Rauf? Okay? Craig Hodges was playing for the Chicago Bulls, in the early 90s, and won 2 championships, okay? 2 of the 3 in the first 3P team, okay? Did you guys know that during one of the team's visits to the White House, that he wore a dashiki and openly criticized, Bush Sr. for basically, not doing enough when it comes to minorities and the black community. And this was just months after the LA riots. You want to know what happened after that? They blackballed him out of the league. Okay. They basically released him, and he was never given an opportunity to play in another NBA team. Okay. And he too filed a grievance against the NBA and did it and wasn't successful at that. But he was one of the first athletes, athletes on the mainstream to bring up the issue. Okay. And then you guys know Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, aka Chris Jackson. Okay. He was one of the first athletes to basically sit down for the national anthem. Okay. Because he viewed the flag as a symbol of oppression. Okay. And guess what? He is absolutely 100% right. Because when you all look back at the original national anthem, it had slavery and racial tones that are deeply offensive. So that is what it is, though, man. But what I really like about this whole situation, from my viewpoint, is that everybody gets to see whose people's agendas are. Either you're for the establishment or for the anti-establishment. And clearly, everybody knows that Stephen A. Smith is part of that white establishment. Okay, he goes into complete defense mode about that. You know, and when you get somebody exposed about what's happening, when you get somebody exposed about what their bias and agendas are, you know what they try to do? They will try to give you guys quote unquote facts to try to bury the person that's presenting the argument. Okay, but I saw it right through it. I saw it through Stephen A. Smith's eyes. He knew he was wrong. He knew what he knew what he was getting himself into, but he didn't care. He wanted to defend that argument because he felt that he was speaking for the majority of black people that supported his perspective. But I'm sorry, bro. If you've been watching all the other videos and all the other comments that have been going on in social media, it's the complete opposite. Okay? And this new generation is now standing up more than ever to the kind of sellout type of behavior that we're seeing with the old establishment. And I'm very, very pleased that we're taking a stand on this because, listen, we live in a globe of white supremacy that has been established since the beginning of time. And when you basically stand up to that establishment, one of the first things that one of the first things they try to do, they try to use inner people to try to break up your movement. Okay, a good example of this is also with the LDBC too, because sometimes you'll have double agents that you don't know of that will try to sneak in some lies behind the scenes to try to break up the brothers. And the thing is, though, man, when you build a community of strong-minded people that are willing to work together for a singular purpose, that's when the establishment grows fearful of that. And then what they try to do is they try to, slip in some lies, some offerings, some deals to try to basically break up a good community. And and the way I see it is not happen. Not in my mind, at least. So, yeah, man, everybody's listen. Colin Kaepernick is basically living good. Listen, if he decides to retire right now, he can retire looking back that he had no regrets. Okay, sure, he could have loved to have a longer football career, but at the end of the day, he has no regrets about what he did and where he stood for. And for any athlete that wants to use their forms to speak on a public issue, Colin Kaepernick is a great example of that. Okay, and if I were teaching my kids about how to stand at the racism and bigotry, I would show them Colin Kaepernick and what he did, because what he did speaks volumes to how many of us in the black community think about what we see right now. Okay, considering the fact that the police and the black community have had a bad history going back to the slavery days. Okay, and truthfully, that hopefully that the next generation can basically continue to fight for the same cause and the same purpose, but with better structure and better directions. What my fear is that in this new age of social media and this new age of internet, my fear is that everybody wants to try to be their own boss. But if there's no specific structure and specific guideline to try to make their point possible, then the movement doesn't mean anything. Okay, and when you stand up for something, you gotta be firm to what you believe, and you gotta be willing to take the consequence of what comes with it. You know, and that's what Colin Kaepernick did. So let's go ahead and check out the chat real quick. JC said Supreme about to talk back. JMJ 2121 says what's good, Mahari, and live chat. Supreme about to talk says stand up for something is the one thing, but when you black and do it, the clowns come through. Yep, absolutely though, man. Definitely 100% agree. And you know, listen, man. Listen, Colin Kaepernick just wants an opportunity to play. I mean, I know a lot of other teams right now that could use Colin Kaepernick right now. But the problem is going to be how will the NFL, play this game, because they know they're on thin ice with Colin Kaepernick. Because remember, the NFL and Colin basically basically settled after their whole grievance lawsuit that dragged in for almost a year. They settled back in February. Okay, and listen, do you guys remember when Stephen A. Smith said a couple of days after this lawsuit was settled that Colin Kaepernick should still reveal the details of the lawsuit without, with dismissing the fact that both sides signed a non-disclosure agreement, which means they cannot address any details of the lawsuit anywhere. Both sides cannot reveal anything. Okay, and yet this idiot says that should say that Colin Kaepernick should still reveal that. What, you want the man to lose millions of dollars? Get out of here. So, you know, it is what it is though, man. It is what it is. And at the end of the day, I wish Colin nothing but the best of what he does, and I still support for what he did, even though people are going to have their own different opinions about it. And listen, you have a right to hold that kind of opinion. But when you try to twist it and take it too far, that's when you lose the value of that opinion. And it's because a completely flawed opinion. You understand me? And at the end of the day, truthfully, at the end of the day, Stephen A. Smith's a clown. And listen, he's a guy that should be taken seriously, because he really doesn't have any sincere things to say. He's very shrewd. He's very disrespectful. On and off camera. Okay, and he tries to pretend like he knows everything, even though he does his job and goes through his sources. Sometimes he tries to stir up the hornet's nest and try to create false narratives and false stories that try to gain viewers and try to get the chat going. I don't fall for that, and especially for me as a journalist, as a journalist person there too that is still out in the sports market. I will never ever reveal any personal details or anything to try to create stories. Okay, the only thing that I report on is only the facts, and the facts that I checked multiple times to make sure it's completely accurate. Now, I will not. Listen. I know a lot of good journalists out there do their job to the full nth degree, but we have to continue to maintain that level of practice. And for unfortunately in the sports media world, anyone can make any false stories on simple facts and try to twist and bend the narrative that suits for them. And I will not be a part of that. I will never ever be part of that. And I know and there's a reason why Colin Kaepernick doesn't speak to the media either, because he knows that the words that he'll say, a lot of people will just take his words and try to twist and bend the freaking narrative to try to support their agenda. And he knows this. That's why he's not. That's why he hasn't. That's why he's never ever spoken to the media since he left the league. Okay, and he still won't speak to the media other than either by a press conference or a press release. That's pretty much it. Okay, so the whole thing is beyond crazy. But like I said, the best silver lining that I could look at this is that everybody gets to see who these peoples are and what their true agendas are, and Stephen A. Smith is no exception. Okay, he really made himself look like a complete fool, and he basically disgraced all the hardworking sports reporters that put their due diligence to report the truth and facts every single day. By coming out and displaying your bias, you're basically exposing any detail of the sports journalism industry, and I will not partake in that. All right, I will not partake in creating and basically making false stories to try to suit an agenda that basically will help either sell papers or draw any views on social media. I will not be part of that. And that's what it is, though, guys. So I'm just going to go ahead and wrap this up, though, guys. But I really, really appreciate you guys, for listening in. You know what I mean? Mahari, are you on Twitter? Yes, I am. I am actually on Twitter. You can follow me on let me post a hashtag there for you. Let me do that real quick. Twitter.com. Let me do that for you real quick. I don't use Twitter much though, I'll post it on there for you guys so you guys can follow. Hold on. There we go. All right. There's my Twitter handle there. You guys can follow me on Twitter here. And I'll also post my Instagram handle here too. Just give me a second right here. All right. All right. There's my Instagram handle here. All right. So you also can follow me on Instagram there too. So those are my two main social media platforms y'all can follow me on. Okay. I will also go live Thursday night. We're gonna go into the whole the video that was posted on Snapchat during the weekend too, and we're gonna keep pushing forward. But I want to thank all you guys, for sticking around with with me and showing all your love and support, though, guys. You know what I mean? And Mark Stearns, what's going on, brother? How you doing, though, man? Good to see you, bro. So, there you go. So now I want the guys with the wrenches, though. Go ahead and spread the word about my channel, and let's continue to try to build the channel to what it can be. Okay, and I'm gonna try to install like a video software to try to create my own personal videos, so that way the videos can get out there to the YouTube community, so that way people can be interested in my channel there too. But I want to personally thank you guys, all the love and support for all you doing for me. You know what I mean? We got 343 subscribers, and let's keep on pushing for 1,000. Hopefully by next year we can try to at least push for 1,000 and keep on pushing. You know what I mean? And the channel's slowly growing, and I really appreciate all that love and support, though, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up and get ready for the work tomorrow. But don't forget, guys, tune in to the Smoke City Mobcast at 8 p.m. Central Time on the LDBC mobile app that is available on both Apple and Android phones. Okay, and then I'll be back Thursday at 9 p.m. Central Time. We're gonna get into we're gonna get into a very uncut conversation, but you'll have to wait and see. Friday night at the same time, 9 p.m. Central Time, is basketball conversations, where I basically go in on all things basketball, the NBA, NCAA, you name it. And also, it's fight week, and we're gonna have a special pre-fight show at 3 p.m. Central Time. We're gonna get into We're gonna get into the fight, though, man. We know that Wilder and Ortiz are gonna fight each other once again for the WBC heavyweight championship. It should be another classic. So this has been Abil Mehari, representing MehariNation Sports Podcast. I want to thank everybody in the LDBC for their continuous love and support. Let's keep on pushing for greatness. Have a good night, guys.